My name is Dan Dorval, and I'm President and CEO of Dorval and Cherney Financial Advisors. I am an independent certified financial planner and author of my book, Financial Success for the Rest of Us, Reality-Based Financial Planning for Mainstream America.
Hi, my name is Leah Woodley. I'm an associate financial advisor with Dorval and Cherney Financial Advisors. Our conversations discuss what it means to do quality of life planning in all areas of your life.
Dan, first of all, Happy New Year. We are in a new year. And at this time, a lot of people make resolutions or just shift their focus back to things that they deem are important. One of those things being finances. So I just wanted to revisit our hierarchy of cash flow because we have this system that sets people up essentially to manage their money in a very prudent way. So why don't you talk about our hierarchy?
Well, over the years, we saw a consistent pattern with a lot of people that we help, and especially young people. And what happens is they have all of this information that's available to them. There's all this noise out in the world about, TikTok videos and whatever telling you you need to do this, you need to do that. And so these people naturally, especially if they're an overachiever type of person, they want to do all of it. And they spread their resources so thin across all these different things. So I want to max out my 401k. I want to save in a Roth. I want to have savings, and yet I still also want to do things like travel and have fun and have quality of life. And they find themselves overextended and they're constantly chasing their tails. So we created a hierarchy of cash flow to take this whole kind of mess, this whole big picture, and start to break it down into easily digestible steps. And that first step is just simply revisiting, do I have an employer sponsored plan that offers a match? And if there is a match, I always want to contribute at least enough to get the match. No more, no less at this point. You're just getting the match. Second step, then we move on to, do you have any high interest debt? So that might be credit cards. Sometimes student loans are kind of high interest, might be car loans nowadays. And do you have any of this high interest debt? And if you do, you now have a hole and you need to fill in that hole before you start to move on to other aspects of your finances. And so step number two is committing resources to be able to pay off any high interest debt. Then number three, and these first three layers are foundational layers, and they set you up to have a strong foundation for investing and doing other things. And that third layer is accumulating an emergency reserve. Now, we don't want you to have a lot of money in checking and savings if you have high interest debt, but once you have paid off your debt, then you move on to accumulating cash. And typically, this is just like a high yield savings account in combination with your normal checking. And this is your day to day managing of cash. We always want you to have that reserve. So, heaven forbid something happens here in 2026, you have cash to be able to move on. Then we move from those foundational layers and we start to get into investing. And investing, just as a reminder to all of our viewers, we want you to align your resources as efficiently and effectively as you can with what you're trying to accomplish. So these three layers, I could talk about them endlessly. My book goes into detail on them. I'm going to keep it very simple for now. One of those layers is trying to work your way towards maxing out a Roth IRA. Now, of course, this assumes you're within the income limits to be able to make a Roth contribution. If you are above those income limits, then you can contribute to a Roth maybe through your 401k or whatever employer retirement plan that you have. The next layer is the one that many people skip or they just miss entirely. And we refer to that loosely as a slush fund account. And this is a basic non-qualified investment account, a brokerage account. This is designed to invest for goals that are outside of retirement. So whether that, maybe you want to start a business someday, maybe you want to buy a cabin someday, whatever it is, we don't care what it is. You want some flexibility and options with your money to be able to do things prior to retirement. And so a lot of people skip this one. Now, once you've done all of these steps, then you come back to your employer plan like a 401k or a 403b. And now, if you still have available cash flow, now you might increase your contributions there in order to specifically secure your retirement. So, what we see a lot of times is people come in, maybe they have credit card debt, maybe they have no emergency reserve, but they're maxing out their 401k or they're contributing 15, 20% to their 401k, which is not necessarily a bad thing. You're still saving money. It's just not aligned at all with what brings you quality of life today. And as a reminder, financial planning is all about having good quality of life consistently over your entire lifetime. We want you to have good quality of life today. We want you to have good quality of life in the future. And this is always a balancing act for everybody involved.
Well, thank you for that overview. I actually met with a nurse who met with us previously, and we gave her that advice to reduce down her contributions so that she can focus on paying off some debt, building emergency reserves. And when she met with me this week, she actually took our advice and she's in a whole new position where she's ready to go into that investing phase and focus on accumulating wealth at this time. So it truly makes a difference if you do follow the steps. Now, I know you said a lot of people skip over the slush fund. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's they just don't know what they don't know or other priorities? What do you think the reason is?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think one of the biggest things is when you consistently hear, we talk about all that noise, right? There
Hmm.
are tons of videos about maxing out your 401k, maxing out a Roth IRA, doing things like that. There are very few videos that talk about, well, how do you save and invest for something that maybe is 5 years away or 10 years away? They just kind of gloss over that. And the assumption, I think, is that, well, you're just going to finance it and you're going to
Mm,
pay for it along the way using some sort of a loan. And, we get used to loans, we get used to mortgages. Most people have a mortgage to buy their house. So if they have a
mhm.
significant expense coming up in 5 years or 10 years, I think the assumption is I'm just going to finance it anyway. And then I'm going to use my cash flow to pay for it. Well, we talk about, well, why don't you save and invest for that goal? Now maybe you have all of the money available to do that thing first before you do it. And now maybe you don't need to borrow.
Mm.
So I think a lot of people lose these steps because they're just not sure exactly like what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you mentioned the time frame, 5 years to 10 years. So what if I have a goal that maybe next year, should I still use the slush fund?
Yeah, well, we always talk about aligning your investments with what the money's for. And if somebody knows, so they've already saved the money. So I've
Mhm.
got this chunk of money, it's already there. And I know I'm going to use it within like 1 year, 2 years, something like that. In that case, we're typically using a high yield savings account or something that's completely safe or very limited volatility, where you're going to accumulate interest. But at the same time, when you need that money to do that thing, you know it's there and you know it's liquid and it's available and you're ready to go to do that thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing these tips and reintroducing the hierarchy of cash flow to some people that may not have been aware of it or some new viewers. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
Well, understanding this is towards the beginning of 2026 and thinking in terms of these resolutions or things people talk about, I think it would be a great resolution for a lot of people, a lot of our viewers to say, okay, here's where I am on the hierarchy of cash flow. My goal this year is to move up, one step, two steps, three
Mhm.
steps, whatever that is possible for you. And at the end of the year, now you can revisit that hierarchy and say, well, I used to be here. It's just like that
Mhm.
nurse you met with. I used to be here. Well, now I'm here and I'm excited about the idea that next year I'm going to try to get to here. And if we consistently, do a step, accomplish it, do another step, accomplish it, now we're making productive progress towards our financial future.
Yes, and it really makes a difference. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that is great advice. Take one step at a time and work your way up. All right. Well, thank you. And until next time, have a good one.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you.